por favor.
Sandra AVILA BELTRAN.
¿De dónde es originaria?
Tijuana, Baja California.
¿Cuál es su dirección?
Many women have become notable figures in legitimate business ventures, while others have taken on important roles in the world of organized crime. These instances show that the appeal of power and wealth isn't exclusive to men. Stay with us as we delve into the stories of 10 women who've reached positions of influence through their intelligence, ambition, and unwavering determination. Number 10. Donaletti. Not much is known about the background of Donaletti, whose real name is Leticia Rodriguez Lara, but what everyone knows is that she is one of the few women who waged war on an entire cartel and lived to tell the tale initially from the state of Veracruz, Mexico. Donaletti grew up in and around crime. By the time she came of age, she had grown to become the main trafficker in southern Mexico. Her rivals called her the Queen of Riviera Maya, based on the region she controlled surprisingly before she became a trafficker. Dorna was a cop and a member of the Federal Judicial Police, which she left to join El Chapo's Sinaloa cartel, and El Chapo immediately grew fond of her because, unlike his other male lieutenants who had a sense of self-preservation, Donaletti was willing to stroll into the battlefield with nothing but a machine gun that is a figure of speech, mind you. Still, everyone that knew her said she was crazy in the head. She proved them right when she turned on El Chapo and worked violently to establish herself as the head of the rival Gulf cartel. Donaletti wasn't scared of anyone. Not even the diabolically notorious Los Zetas cartel that was famous for chopping up their victims and feasting on them. She single-handedly pulled the cartel down. Even though she has long been arrested, many in Mexico still speak of her in fear and admiration. Number 9. Griselda Blanco Restrepo, known as the Black Widow, was a Colombian drug lord tied to the Medellin cartel and Miami drug trade from the 1970s to the early 2000s. She started her criminal path in Medellin, showcasing her ruthlessness by abducting a child for ransom at just 11 years old. Blanco expanded her drug trade from Colombia to major U.S. cities, especially Miami, New York, and California. Using fake passports, she entered the U.S. in the mid-1970s, building a massive drug enterprise in Queens, New York. Caught in 1975 on federal drug conspiracy charges, she fled to Colombia, but returned to Miami in the late 1980s. Her return coincided with violent clashes in the city due to drug-related activities. Blanco was deeply involved in Miami's drug war in the late 1970s and early 1980s, leading a distribution network generating $80 million monthly. However, her empire suffered a significant setback in 1985 when the DEA captured her in Miami. Convicted in New York and sentenced to 15 years, she also faced charges in Florida, pleading guilty in 1998. Earning her a 20-year sentence. Deported to Colombia in 2004, Blanco died suddenly in September 2012. Despite her criminal history, her life story continues to captivate filmmakers, musicians, and artists, with numerous documentaries showcasing her influence. Her last sighting was at Bogotá Airport in May 2007. Number 8. Angeli San Clemente Valencia, also known as Angie San Clemente, a former Colombian beauty queen and lingerie model, lived a dual life behind her stunning facade. She orchestrated a major drug syndicate, earning her the nickname Drug Queen. Born in Colombia, she gained fame by winning the Renato National del Café beauty contest, but her ambitions went beyond modeling. She joined forces with a Mexican drug lord initially, but later broke away to establish her own cartel. Using her charm and cunning, she recruited young models for drug trafficking, paying them well for transporting illegal substances. However, her conspiracy unraveled when a young woman was caught at Buenos Aires Azaza International Airport with 55 kilograms of narcotics. Valencia managed to escape Argentina, evading capture with her Pomeranian. In 2010, her glamorous exterior crumbled when she was arrested in Buenos Aires, attempting to disguise herself with blonde hair and a fake identity. Despite the seriousness of her crimes, she served only a fraction of her sentence, getting released unexpectedly. Deported to Colombia in 2013, her story warns of hidden darkness beneath the allure of beauty and glamour. Number 7. JEMIKA Thompson Hairston, a fascinating person in American criminal history, rose to prominence as a narcotics dealer during the 1980s crack epidemic that ravaged the country. She developed a tremendous narcotics enterprise in the rough neighborhoods of South Central Los Angeles, is organizing a network of distributors spanning many cities. Thompson's involvement with the trade began in her childhood at the young age of 8. She witnessed the brutal reality of poverty when she and her mother were evicted from their flat, leaving their belongings strewn outside. This watershed incident fueled Thompson's drive to gain power and accumulate wealth. She excelled in track and field as a high school student. She fell in love with Anthony Daff Mosley, a narcotics dealer. Thompson, eager to prove herself, began collecting money on his behalf. Thompson became involved with narcotics while still in high school. Surprisingly, she sold 3 to 4 kilograms of illegal substances each week. Thompson and Daff married in 1980 and started dealing together. Thompson and her husband acquired a beautiful mansion in Encino, California. At the same time, her company grew. Their lifestyles appeared to mirror the trappings of prosperity. Daff, on the other hand, was mercilessly slain by agents from the DEA, also known as Drug Enforcement Administration, who had been watching Thompson's operations. Expected her illegal organization to fall in the aftermath of her husband's death. Thompson surprised everyone by making a stunning recovery. Thompson extended her activities in 1984 by hiring distributors countrywide and developing direct links with Colombian manufacturers. Her relentless desire drove her to start an apparently genuine firm specializing in hair distribution and selling wigs and extensions. While Thompson said it was a legitimate business, police felt it was a ruse to launder her narcotics money. When Thompson's business partner, Percy Cheese Bratton, was captured with a large amount of narcotics in his hands, and the tide shifted against her, Bratton negotiated a bargain with investigators in order to provide the evidence required to indict Thompson. Thompson proceeded on a frantic escape in order to avoid arrest. However, at the age of 31, she was captured during her son's 6th grade graduation ceremony. Thompson was charged with many counts of money laundering and conspiracy to distribute narcotics. She was convicted after being indicted and began serving a 15-year jail sentence. Thompson's compelling narrative captivated the media and the general public. In fact, she was featured in an episode of the 2nd season of Netflix's Drug Lords, Thompson's Astonishing Climb, and the millions she gained in the perilous trade were explored in the episode, which aired on July 10, 2018. She desired to be in charge of her own fate, which led her down a road that transformed her into an infamous drug lord. Number 6. Clara Elena Labarin La Señora. Clara Elena Labarin was a former beauty queen from Sonora State. She married Hector Beltran Lever El Chapo's former partner in the Sinaloa cartel. Clara is known as La Señora, or the Mrs., because her husband treated her like a trophy bride. When Beltran Lever broke with El Chapo in 2008, Clara was enlisted to direct the money laundering component of her husband's cartel. In 2010, she was kidnapped by a rival group and photographed in captivity, blindfolded with her feet and hands bound and automatic rifles pointed at her. After 13 days, she was released and returned to manage the cartel's finances 4 years later. When her husband was arrested, Labarin became the head of the cartel and launched one of the bloodiest waves of violence in Acapulco to establish herself as boss. Her time at the top was a brutal campaign for dominance that turned the resort city into Mexico's murder capital. Tourists were caught in the crossfire and forced to step over bullet-riddled bodies on beaches as the Beltran Lever cartel, then governed by Labarin, fought their rivals in the independent cartel of Acapulco. She got arrested by the authorities sometime in 2016. However, Labarin said she was no longer part of the cartel, a convenient thing to say after all the atrocities she had committed. Number 5. Sandra Avila Beltran. Sandra Avila Beltran, often known as La Reina del Pacifico, has left an everlasting stamp on Mexico's drug cartel landscape. Her life is a narrative of familial ties, illicit affairs, daring escapes, and ascension to prominence in the male-dominated world of narcotics trafficking. Avila Beltran was born in Baja California, into a family with significant links to narcotics trafficking, Alfonso Villa Quintero. Her father was a cousin of Rafael Caro Quintero, a significant player in the Guadalajara cartel. She also has ties to the Beltran Leyva brothers, powerful leaders in the Sinaloa Cartel Federation. Her criminal career appeared predetermined because she was a third-generation trafficker in her family. The personal life of Villa Beltran was fraught with peril and sorrow, and she had associations with a number of notable drug lords, which elevated her position in the underworld. Her 2 husbands, both former police officers turned smugglers, have mysteriously assassinated her friendship with Juan Diego Espinoza Ramirez alias The Tiger, a major player in Colombia's Norte del Valle cartel, brought her greater fame, however, for years. Villa Beltran eluded authorities by carefully concealing her activities. However, when her teenage son was kidnapped, she unexpectedly sought aid from the police. While she was successful in rescuing her kid, her actions created suspicions and prompted an inquiry. Villa Beltran and Espinoza Ramrez were ultimately apprehended in Mexico City in 2007 after 4 years, and the efforts of 30 federal officers. Avila Beltran was charged with money laundering for smuggling narcotics worth billions of dollars from Colombia to Mexico. Despite her high-profile lifestyle and connections, the evidence against her was sufficient, and she was found guilty after various legal fights in 2012. She was caught in the intricate web of international law enforcement. She found herself subjected to the process of extradition, ultimately leading her to the United States to confront the grave charges related to narcotics possession and trafficking. Even after her incarceration, Villa Beltran continues to capture headlines as a vital connection between the Sinaloa cartel and one of Mexico's most powerful criminal organizations. In an unexpected turn of events, she wrote a book titled The Queen of the Pacific Time to Talk, which was based on a series of jail interviews with Mexican writer Julio Scherer. Her rise to power, marked by family ties, forbidden romances, and a daring escape from the authorities, highlights her greed for power and riches. Number 4. In the lively city of Naples, Maria Licciardi emerged as a formidable presence in the organized criminal clan's violent feuds. A Neapolitan woman in her late 40s, she rose within the Second Digliano clan, solidifying her position during the late 1990s. Licciardi's ascent coincided with shifting gender dynamics in the Camorra. Born in Naples in 1951, she stepped into leadership roles left vacant by incarcerated or deceased male members, breaking traditional norms. Beyond assisting with narcotics packing like some mafia women, Licciardi excelled in making threats, extorting money, and overseeing transactions. Raised in the Camorra environment as the daughter of a clan chief, she gained deep insights into the syndicate's workings. When her brothers and husband were jailed, Licciardi took charge of the Second Digliano family, managing street operations, narcotics trade, smuggling, and extortion. She commanded respect, engaging in debates with male leaders, shaping their decisions during her tenure. Licciardi succeeded in uniting feuding factions briefly for profit, but a clash triggered by tainted medications shattered the fragile peace. Rival clans targeted her, sparking brutal conflicts. She retaliated, orchestrating operations that claimed around 30 lives. Despite her small stature, she exhibited unwavering ruthlessness, leaving a trail of bloodshed. In 1999, the police issued an arrest warrant, capturing 13 mafia bosses during a raid, but Licciardi evaded capture until 2001, when she was caught during a routine traffic stop. Her reign of terror ended, and though her authority waned in prison, her legacy remains etched in Camorra's history. Number 3. Anadina Arellano Felix and Adina Arellano Felix de Toledo is a name that frightens people involved in the Mexican narcotics trade. Adina was born on April 12, 1961, into a prominent family of narcotics dealers, making her fate appear predetermined. What distinguishes Anadina from her siblings is her astonishing climb to prominence as the famed Tijuana cartel's leader, breaking barriers as one of the only women to run a criminal organization. Adina's adventure into the crime syndicate began in Mazatlan, Sinaloa. She aspired to be the Mazatlan Carnival Queen. When she was 16 years old, her ambitions were dashed, however, when her brothers Ramon and Benjamin became sought after by both the Mexican and U.S. governments, and Adina enrolled at a private institution in Guadalajara, where she excelled academically and finished with a bachelor's degree in accounting, determined to pursue her own path. And Adina secretly joined the family company in the mid-1980s, working behind the scenes as the authorities concentrated on her brothers. The Tijuana cartel was under their control. Although Anadina didn't come to public attention until the year 2000, when a financial genius inside the organization was killed, she became the cartel's backbone, thanks to her competence in money laundering and financial management. Adina's leadership position was cemented in 2008 following the arrest of her brother Eduardo. With most of her siblings either in prison or deceased, she grabbed the chance to take over the Tijuana cartel, an extraordinary step in a male-dominated environment, and Adina, known for her business-like vision, attempted to change the cartel's violent reputation into a more planned and measured approach, And Adina, unlike her brothers, preferred to form relationships with other criminal organizations rather than resort to deadly violence. This adjustment in tactics garnered her the respect and adoration of the cartel's members, as well as the attention of international law enforcement organizations like the Drug Enforcement Administration. She became a trendsetter, demonstrating that women could lead criminal businesses just as well as men. The importance of Adina to the Tijuana cartel cannot be overstated. The organization has evolved, survived, and even prospered under her guidance. Attempts by the Mexican authorities to dissolve the cartel have met with tremendous resistance, owing in large part to Adina's strategic skill. She has broken cultural expectations by questioning the concept that criminal leadership is only reserved for men. Number 2. Anna Vasilyevna Chapman is one name that stands out for its mystery and fascination in the pages of international espionage. Anna Vasilyevna Chapman. Anna Vasilyevna Kushenko was born in Kharkiv on February 23, 1982. Chapman's upbringing pointed to her susceptibility to intrigue. Her father, Vasily Kushenko, purportedly served as the Russian ambassador to Kenya and held a key post in the KGB. He currently has a prominent post within the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. With such ties, Chapman looked destined to traverse the perilous realm of intelligence. Chapman's fate changed dramatically in the United States. She obtained British citizenship through marriage and used it as a stepping stone to establishing residence in the United States. Her true aims, however, were far from common. Chapman was charged with spying for the Russian Federation's foreign intelligence service called Slug Vneshny Razvedki. Her arrest on June 27, 2010, was a dramatic expose of the illegal program, a Russian spy network operating on American territory. There are many reports which claim that Chapman worked with a network of others until she was lured into a trap at a Manhattan coffee shop by an undercover FBI agent. The FBI agent handed Chapman a false passport and told her to send it to another spy. "Are you ready for this step?" he inquired, to which Chapman answered, "Of course." She took the passport. However, following a series of phone conversations with her father, Vasily Kushenko, in Moscow, Chapman followed his advice and surrendered the passport to a local police station. She was arrested not long after. The arrest of Chapman shocked the intelligence community and captured the public's attention. She pleaded guilty to conspiring to operate as a foreign government agent, admitting to her role in clandestine operations to obtain sensitive information. In an unusual turn of events, Chapman and her fellow Russian agents were deported to Russia as part of the historic swap on July 8, 2010. The 10 Russian spies were returned to their motherland as part of the largest swap since 1986. Chapman's unexpected return to Russia gave her enormous fame, catapulting her into the spotlight as a television personality and model. Chapman pursued a variety of interests once she returned to her birthplace. She became a government official, leading a youth council and supporting several programs. Her fascination, however, did not end there. Chapman also pursued a modeling career, dazzling the catwalks of Russian fashion events with her engaging style and attractive personality. Her participation in the media business extended beyond modeling. Chapman took up the challenge of hosting her own television show, solidifying her position as a famous figure in Russian pop culture. Chapman's arrest and subsequent ascent to fame drew much media attention. Her stunning beauty and ties to the Russian Federation earned her the nickname the Red under the Bed by various media publications magazines. Blogs analyzed her fashion choices and sense of style, and tabloids couldn't get enough action figures modeled after her. She became a frequent guest at upscale New York City clubs and restaurants, adding to the public's interest in her luxurious lifestyle. Number 1. Rosetta Cutolo. Rosetta Cutolo was a lady whose influence and power in the Italian criminal underground were as mysterious as her piercing eye size. Rosetta Cutolo, Raphael Cutolo's sister, was born in January 1937. She was the legendary head of the Nuova Camorra organization, which intended to restructure and revitalize the Camorra Rosetta. In contrast to her colorful and attention-seeking brother preferred a quiet and simple existence, she lived in Ottaviano near Naples for years, caring for her roses while living with her mother. However, underneath her modest exterior was an unstoppable power. Rosetta became the primary force behind her brother's operations, carefully delivering his commands from his jail cell and cultivating his devoted supporters outside. Rosetta remained in the shadows as Raphael made headlines with his scandalous interviews and courtroom statements. She was known as Worky, Giacchio or Ice Eyes for her sharp mind for numbers and her ability to bargain with South American barons. Her bold effort to blow up a police station nearly missed solidifying her image as an influential person. Her story inspired the film El Camarista, adding a glamorous touch to her mystery image. Rosetta took part in a high-level conference between the Sicilian Mafia and the Camorra clans. In a spectacular display of power and influence, Rosetta, Raffaele Cutillo's devoted follower Vincenzo Castillo, was critical in establishing the crime scene. The authorities' pursuit of Rosetta culminated in October 1981, when cops stormed her hideout. Cutillo snuck away beneath a rug hidden in a vehicle driven past checks by the neighborhood priest. This braze kept her out of the public spotlight for over a decade, while she oversaw activities from a network of safe homes spread across various cities. Rosetta made an unexpected decision in February 1993, surrendering to authorities when her refuge was identified. She declared, "I am tired of being a fugitive," and thus terminated her self-imposed exile. Rosetta suffered the weight of her brother's criminal business after being condemned in absentia to 9 years in jail on mafia affiliation charges. She was later reduced to 5 years despite the charges, but she managed to persuade the authorities of her innocence by projecting an unpretentious and frumpy attitude. Her brother Rafael Acutolo maintained that Rosetta was unaware of his illicit activity and just complied with his orders. He said she was never a camarista, but rather an obedient sister who delivered the money to convicts as directed. While the reality of her role may never be known, it is clear that Rafael attempted to safeguard her innocence, assuring the continuity of his empire even while imprisoned. We hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you in the next one.